It's another quite unbelievably stunning day. It also happens to be Christmas Eve, so I've just finished doing a half day at work, and while the sun is out I will be continuing with this. I just had a play trying to chop the windscreen out because I bought myself a windscreen removal tool. This is not your nice cheese wire one, this is your I don't care if I like smash up the windscreen type of tool, real nasty thing. You slide it in the corners and you pull on that, sliding it all the way along. I've done a bit but not gone crazy yet. I'll go and put my overalls on and maybe some eye goggles and then carry on with that. Okay, had my goggles on, just been working that tool around the edges. Quite a lot of this is actually quite loose. I think either there's been a load of corrosion building up in there, or it was just never glued in properly, which is probably why the scuttle like rusted as much as it did. But already, minimal cutting, I can lift up one side of the windscreen. So I'm just going to carry on going around. A few more cracks are developing, but one thing I really want to do is save that Capital radio sticker. There's one in the tailgate, but it's got a big like gash in it. So I'm going to try and warm that up before I damage the windscreen anymore and try and get that off. It's going pretty well. It's now free all that side about to here and here. So I'm just going to continue chopping my way around that bit and then hopefully I'll push it out with my feet. Just a bit of a demo on this tool. I've fed it in at the top there where I've taken that bit of trim off. Then slid it down. You can just see the spike underneath the glass, and literally all you do is have one hand here, your other hand pulling on that, and you sort of wiggle it and work it and it will go all the way down. So once I'm at that bottom corner, hopefully it should pop out. Ta-da! One completely free windscreen. Just got to get it in the skip now without scattering the car park with glass. I was trying to save these chrome surround trims, but actually most of them are dented anyway, even before I put that tool on them. So I think the top one's okay, but both bottom corners are a bit dented, so they'll go for the bin as well. Windscreen gone. Unfortunately, the Capital radio sticker could not be salvaged. Just making a first cursory inspection of the windscreen surround. These top bits I knew would need some attention. There's actually a hole all the way through that, just about there. Usually they go in these bottom corners. We've got a bit here, that's not too much to worry about. Again, coming across here we've got some surface. That's the big ugly hole which I know about, but I don't care because I've got it on that gold panel. This side, yeah, that's gone pretty well. I'm curious to know how much of the actual bulkhead that sits on has gone. I might have to be very careful when I weld it because obviously we've got more insulation and the wiring loom. And then coming up this way, quite a lot of this is a bit frully, and again another hole there. Top looks alright, just a few surface scabs. Yeah, car is now looking very sorry for itself. Not really a candidate for restoration, but never mind, we shall continue. Got a bit of a surprise when I opened the bonnet. All of that epoxy has gone white. I think it's just the moisture that's in the air, because I painted it on about 3, and then obviously gets dark at 4, gets cold, moist air, it's turned it white. When you scrape a ruler or like a screwdriver across it, it's still rock hard, so that doesn't bother me. I'm just gonna continue working on the scuttle area. Going to remove that bonnet latch and the wiper motor, and then I'll start prepping that top bit to weld in my repair panel. I'll also chop out the rest of that rotten area just so I can start formulating my plan for putting it all back together again. Right, done some more choppage. Basically offered up my donor panel and worked out how much of it I needed and how much of I didn't. And then I've chopped the majority of what I don't need out of the scuttle panel. That now gives me better access into here to clean it all up and get to the back side of that patch that I'm going to put in. not only for welding but for seam sealing afterwards. Now I'm just having an internal debate as to whether I clean up this flange while I've got this open and can clean it, or whether I do it after I've got that in and painted it. Not sure yet, I'll have a think. Just been poking around in here and excavating a mixture of compost and rodent nests. It really has composted, so nobody's been in here cleaning it out for a very long time. No big rusty holes, which is nice, but to get all of that crap out, I'm going to stick a hose pipe in there. I mean, it sounds drastic because I'm sure it'll fill up the cabin, but it's the only way I'm really going to get that area clear and see what is actually lurking beneath. Dousing complete. Doesn't that look much better? But you can actually see there's the remains of wax oil. So even though this thing has been filling up with water for a long time, most of that metal's really nice. That plate protects the area above the glove box, which I'll need to put some rust prevention stuff on. That corner where it's been sitting under this rusty hole here is filled up. But again, it's all solid metal, so I'm going to carry on, weld that bit in, and then later on, before I weld that top scuttle in, I'll bare metal the whole of the inside of that scuttle and epoxy it. That's my repair panel again. Just taken the epoxy off along that top edge where I'm going to weld, and then on the back I've also, because it's quite thick stuff, I've taken off some of the back side where there was big blobs of paint. Also prepped along here, got it back to bare metal along the top of that flange. I haven't done that bit yet because there's a reason for that. I'm going to tack this in by the top side and then clean out through the holes with a scribe. That will mean that there's more epoxy left on there and it should be better protected. So I'm just going to put some weld through primer on the back and front surface of this now, and also on that flange where I've cleaned it off. Right, I think I must be saying right quite a lot, but never mind. I've tacked that panel in just along the top and the corners. My cunning plan is now to offer up or bend the lower flange to the bulkhead, get a scribe and scribe out where the epoxy is, and then just plug weld it same as original to replicate the spot welds. Then I'll seam that top edge, and it should look really neat because I've got good access to the back side, so I can check my welds are penetrating properly, as you can see down here. Yeah, so I'll just carry on doing that. The plan is working. Got a really good one then. Basically it spits and farts a bit until the paint's burnt off, and then it just does a nice plug weld. So yeah, just going to carry on with that method, work my way across, and then hopefully finish before it gets dark. Getting there, it's not as neat a job as I would have liked. All the top is seamed. I've done quite a lot of the plug welds along the bottom, but the ones right down there are really difficult to get to. So just got to keep persevering really. It's not going to be the neatest job in the world, but I'll just clean it up as best I can, and it'll all be hidden behind seam sealer. And then of course the bulkhead insulation panels. So long as it's solid and doesn't come off again, I'm happy. Right, finished for the day. It's on, it's protected, and that's about all you can really say for it. It's not as neat as I'd hoped, but never mind, it'll all be hidden. And it's solid, so got to be realistic about these things. If this was the police car or the other ones I've done, it would have been stripped to a bare shell and done properly, but you know, this one's in the work car park, it's Christmas Eve, and I've still got some Christmas shopping to do, so yeah, I'm going to call it a night.